So the Warriors traded their 41st pick for the 52nd and the 56th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, and here is my official thoughts and reaction. So we drafted Alex Tuhey, I think that's how you say his name, at 52 out of Sydney, Australia, 6'8" with a 6'11" wingspan, and looking through the NBA draft analysis, there were some things that stuck out to me. So firstly, they mentioned that he has no dominant offensive singular trait, meaning he's not known for one thing like his shooting, passing, rebounding, defense, etc. He's a player that kinda does it all, being quote unquote well-rounded. So what that sounds like is maybe he's more of a high motor player, because guys that tend to not have a single good offensive trait tend to lean more on their effort and their hustle. But another thing that they mention about him consistently is his quote unquote feel for the game. And if you don't know what that means, it just means your ability to understand basketball at a high level, understanding what comes next, and not needing like a second to figure it out. And to me, this feels like a pick that MDJ heavily vouched for. MDJ is a GM that leans heavily on players who know the game. If we're looking at all the picks that he's made, Podz, TJD, and QP, these guys are all guys that have strong feels for the game. So it kind of matches what Alex Tuhey is. Nothing that stands out about their game, but they understand how to play. Which makes me think that him and Steve Kerr have a good relationship with each other because Kerr essentially favors those kind of players. It makes me think that they collaborated for this pick. Players that are not particularly talented, but they're quote unquote high IQ players. Guys like Guy Santos, GP2, Loon, etc. Upon watching his tape, something that immediately caught my attention was his movement on both ends for his size. Guys his size usually play the 4, but with how well he moves, it looks like he can play the 3 if needed. In transition when he's running the floor, it looks like he's comfortable sprinting, catching the ball, and finishing going full speed. That's definitely something that will provide value on this team. Something else he's been highlighted for is his defensive playmaking. He averaged 1.5 steals in the NBL last season, and for a guy his size to average that amount of steals, he not only has to be quick, cause he's gotta close gaps quickly, but he's also gotta be cerebral too. Like, to provide more context, he was top 5 in steals in the NBL. The 4 guys that were above him were guards, so guys that were like quick-footed. So for him to be right there with those type of guys, it speaks a lot about his ability to make plays defensively. And again, that's something that Shams reported that the Warriors were looking for, defensive playmaking. Last thing I'll mention about his size is the fact that he might struggle against NBA physicality. Guys that are like bruisers in the NBA. When I look at his frame, he looks like he was a skinny kid that just now started to put on size, which probably explains his natural speed since he's been a skinny kid. So all in all, he's not a traditional 4-man, but rather a modern 4-man that plays on the perimeter and runs the floor. Overall, I'm not so high about him, just cause I think he's most likely going to be thrown in the G League for the most part, unless he can kind of like break out in the G League and show Kerr that he can really play at the NBA level. But I do remain optimistic that he can be something more, that he can be a rotation player, due to the fact that this team doesn't really have a backup power forward. Like, who's the backup 4-man? Guy Santos? So with just 4 picks later, we actually traded pick 59 to move up here, and we decided to draft Will Richards. NCAA champ, 6'4", 206 pounds, 4 years of college ball, and 3 with the Florida Gators. The main thing that I want to touch on here first is this 3-and-D skill set that they're talking about with this dude. A career 35.5% from the 3-point line, but his seasons shooting the ball were very inconsistent. Some seasons he shot the ball 32%, and another season he'll shoot close to 40, and he's also shooting with good volume as well. He's taking 4 or 5 attempts a game. So he's somebody that does consistently take 3-point shots, and he is somebody that you can't exactly leave open. But he's also not somebody that you can leave open no matter what. So he's not your typical sharpshooter. But one of his NBA comparisons is Malik Beasley, and I thought that was interesting because Beasley is a heavy movement / run the floor type of shooter. From the tape that I've seen, Richard shoots a lot of spot up threes. So I don't know exactly if he can shoot on the move, but if he can, you already know that's a demand in this Warriors system. That's something that can potentially earn him more minutes. Another thing with him is his ability to play off the catch. So if he's a 3-and-D player, he'll likely not be on the ball as a primary ball handler. So he'll have opportunities to catch the ball and either shoot or attack, and he's got great off the dribble pop. He can attack a closeout and get in the lane and make a play. He looks like one of those players that has a quick first step. Speaking of quickness, the draft analysis also pointed out that he's a quick guard defensively with lateral quickness. They compared him to Alex Caruso, which I think is a bit faulty. Caruso is a well-rounded defender who's athletic and smart. I view Richard more of a Keon Ellis type, where he's quick on the ground and plays hard. He averaged 1.7 steals in his last season, so there's a good chance that there is some real defensive value that can be used in the NBA. The last thing that I will say about his skill set is that he's not somebody that is a good ball handler. So I mentioned this earlier, not a primary ball handler, not somebody that can really bring the ball up and deal with ball pressure, but more so a secondary ball handler, somebody dealing with second side action and really scoring in that specific way. And when you really think about all the guards that the Warriors have on this team, there's not a whole lot of ball handling talent. Steph is the only one that's really the ball handler here, and he's not even really great at it. Besides him, who's the next best guy? All in all, I say this to say that if Will Richard can do exactly what they're saying he could do, which is be a 3-and-D player, he can snatch this starting 2 spot so easily. Every other guard on this Warriors team is not starter caliber. Every one of them has issues of their own. Richard's skill set is tailor-made for what the Warriors need at the shooting guard spot. Podz and Moody are streaky shooters, Buddy Hield is a fake shooter, and all 3 of them can't guard the other team's best player. So the path to being the starting 2 guard for Will Richard is right there for him. He can quite literally step into a big role in his rookie season if he wanted to. It seems like MDJ drafted a guy like this for the specific reason of needing a player like him at the shooting guard spot. And to cap off the picks that he made, I know a lot of people aren't exactly excited about the picks that he made just because they weren't exactly flashy, but in doing a bit more research about why he made those picks, it can turn out to be a good thing. Like MDJ knows basketball. He watches basketball worldwide. I trust his judgment. I trust that he can bring in pieces to help this team.